Hello, hello, hello. This is AJT500 slash talented track 98 slash Heloise Wonderwise slash Hilo slash Ross's Cake Heart. And this is going to be the lightning round pre-go or ramble for fire. It's actually kind of funny because the very first pre-go or ramble I made, even before the pre-go or ramble was called the pre-go or ramble, was actually fire too. And it was just like a solo video that I was just talking about, like when Zeta Spears and stuff came out. So kind of funny that this is the one that ends up with a lightning round. But if you're confused on why this is a lightning round, pretty much I've just been really busy in general lately, so I didn't want to bother trying to get a guest or anything. And I just don't want to sit here for like, you know, 3 hours or something right now for this one. I just don't really have the time. So I'm just gonna go through some of the newer stuff quickly on my own, and then that'll be pretty much it. So let us get into it. So I'm gonna start with grands, and I'm already prepped my grands here. Honestly, you know, a lot of this stuff is pretty much the same. You know, Zeta Spears are pretty much the same. Percy Sword's pretty much dead for the most part. PNS is PNS. You know, random stuff in here. Sometimes you'll see a Rackham gun in some stuff. Sometimes you'll see an Ixaba. Ryan Fist is still being used. I've got like, I already had 3 from before. Sometimes you'll see the skill one, sometimes you'll see the attack one. I've been seeing the skill one more than the attack one though. Shiva bow sometimes for some Ogi stuff, so maybe on a Filato or something, I don't know. The bigger ones though are like these 3. So like the Mikaboshi weapons, the UL weapon, the Finny Torch. I'll start with Finny Torch. Actually, Finny Torch has dropped a decent amount recently. Partially because of Lancer Origin, you can main hand your Opus or Blazing Mistral, so you can do that instead of doing Mana Diver. I do expect people to still use this for like Guild War for Filatos and stuff though. To be honest, just because it's a very, I won't say like super accessible weapon, but it's a weapon that I feel like a lot of people that already were Primal and Fire were already using. So people probably already have it. Granted, people also have their Opus, so they could just do Lancer Origin, but less people probably have Blazing Mistrals, is my point. So it'll probably still see some full auto use during Guild War, but it is dropping off a bit. Now the big ones honestly are the UL Katana and the Mikaboshi weapon. I'm probably gonna flip back and forth between these, to be honest. But I want to start kind of with the Mikaboshi weapon. So Mikaboshi weapon, if you don't know, it has the supplemental normal attack damage, but the big thing is that it also has like, essentially it has extremity key on it. Now you would look at this weapon and you would say, hey, this is kind of kicking busted as crap, which it is. It also has like this HP that plays into Wamdis as well. But the thing about it, unironically, is defense shred kind of strong. defense shred kind of strong. And even though it has, the Mikaboshi weapon has supplemental NA damage on it, supplemental skill damage is still really good, and the extremity key can still just be gotten with extremity, whereas you can't really get this defense shred from something else. You know what I mean? And the defense shred is kind of strong, especially in Fire right now, where Fire Mikaboshi weapon is kind of funny that they even released this when, you know, you have an element like Earth that needs TA desperately, but you just gave this to Fire because Fire is very much in its like skilled nuking Ogi arc right now. Like honestly, if you like, I've been posting a lot of videos in like, you know, different GBF chats about Fire stuff, and honestly the amount of times that I've even seen one of these weapons has been kind of scarce, to be honest. A lot of people, because like, you know, if I go to a grid, like if I go to a grid like this, right? Grid like this, a lot of people were wondering when Mikaboshi weapon came out, like where do you put the Mikaboshi weapon? Because essentially the only spot that you have is this one spot. But the thing about it is, if you don't take 2 Mikaboshi weapons, you still technically need to bring extremity key, assuming you want the full effect, on your Opus, because that doesn't actually fill out the extremity, which makes grid building kind of rough, because essentially you have to decide whether or not you want to take 2 Mikaboshis, 2 PNS, which you're going to bring 2 PNS always comes back, or do you want to take 2 ULs, right? And most people have decided to just go for the ULs. In most setups that I've seen, they usually end up dropping the Mikaboshis before they drop the ULs. One of the only times that you can really go with both of them is in something like Lancer Origin, where you can main hand your Opus, or like if you were gonna main hand something like your Destroyer or something like that, or something that's just naturally in this grid. Like you could also main hand like the Zeta Spear, or like the Mikaboshi axe, like some, or not Mikaboshi, the Michael axe. Pretty much if you were gonna main hand something that's already in the grid anyway, then you can fit in both of them. But assuming you only can take like one of these, most people have kind of leaned more to the UL katana, which again makes sense because of the defense shred being so unique and so strong. I also have another party over here. This party was for like Tiamat M3. This is one where I actually did use whatchamacallit, I did use 2 Mikaboshis instead, and I didn't change my Opus, but I think the Opus in this setup was actually supposed to be Sagacity to try and work with this. So essentially what I'm trying to get at with these is grid building is kind of a bit whack with them. I do expect these to show up a little bit more when you do stuff like, if there's any type of bursting thing for like 150 or like 200 or something like that, maybe even 250 for like a mashing setup, anything that is like primarily auto based. That's another thing too, is like a lot of the people playing fire nowadays, and this is the reason why I say they're kind of in their skill Ogi arc, because you don't really see a lot of fire people actually playing with like Wamdis, Zeta, Percival right now. A lot of people that are playing fire stuff, they're doing skill damage nuke stuff with Blazing Mistral, Ogi stuff with Blazing Mistral, or they're just playing around with the new Higurashi. So it's like a lot of people are not even doing anything auto based with this stuff in the first place. So it's kind of just like, it's kind of cooked. But again, the one time that you do auto stuff with like, you know, Lancer Origin, you can just do this and then you can bring both of them, then it's good. But it's like people have seen PBHL so many times that it's just like, we already kind of know PBHL, just do it and move on. You know what I mean? So the Mikaboshi weapons are good, but they can be hard to slot in, especially when you're trying to do like high level stuff. It's almost, from what I've seen, it's almost always just been worth to just take the defense shred, the skill based stuff, and then just either completely drop these entirely or only take like one of them, essentially. So they are still good, but you aren't using them as much as people probably thought you would be using them. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for like the weapons. Honestly, these two are like the main ones, like I was saying. Now, outside of the Grands, we had the Illustrious weapons, and you already know I'm going to be talking about Blazing Mistral some more. So the mad dash I've seen, the mad scramble that I've seen for people to get Blazing Mistral before this Guild War has been like really, really funny to see, because I literally talked about this, back then, and everybody was like, oh, Blazing Mistral sucks. I can't believe you're putting it over Higurashi, blase, but now everybody wants it because it actually can see use in Guild War, and it's seeing more use in the stuff that it was already seeing use in before its transcendence. Honestly, it's been all over the place. I've seen so many Filatos, I've seen OTKs, I've seen high level stuff with it. It's just been all over the place. It's really, really strong right now. The buffs it got is really good. The one thing I did want to bring up with Blazing Mistral too is I have like a party here for like 250. Now that we have extra grids is actually a spot where you can actually bring the 2 Gojis and the 2 Mikaboshis and still main hand the Blazing Mistral. So this is a situation like for 250 where you'll probably see some type of like mashing comp that has this type of setup here, where they just go through and they just have both of the weapons in them because you actually have space. But yeah, Blazing Mistral, it's definitely going to show up in Guild War, bare minimum. If nothing else, it's already showing up in EX Plus. So it's definitely going to show up in Guild War. The question is just how much. But I think it'll happen. I think it'll show up in a lot of Filatos, to be honest. For anyone that has it, I think it'll show up in a lot of Filatos. But I'm also expecting some mashing stuff, just like it's done in the past. Higurashi does have some merit for like 250 as well. You could see some Filatos for this. I mean, even lower levels too, if you're like a weaker fire player and you had Higurashi for some reason, you could probably still use it. for some of the lower level full autos too, but mostly 250 is where I'm thinking. The only issue with Higurashi though is that even though Blazing Mistral and Higurashi can both play around like an Ogi comp, Higurashi is mostly just completely Ogi based. And the thing with that is the main Ogi character that you use in Fire, well, one of them is Sandira, and Sandira doesn't really work unless she has the Fated Chain part, which you will not have in Guild War. So that kind of lessens the whole Ogi strategy with Higurashi a little bit. It could still see some use, but I just expect to see Blazing Mistral more. But yeah, that's pretty much it for these two weapons. Just I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them shows up. Because a lot of them have been showing up a lot, but this also kind of goes back to the same thing I was saying with the Mikaboshi weapons, where even with both of these, like Blazing Mistral comes into auto-based stuff a little bit more, obviously than Higurashi, but both of these have mostly been seeing the skill CA damage type comps. Not a lot of people have been playing like purely auto-based comps as of recently in Fire, or at least for what they've been doing in showcases. Most of the showcases have been like Ogi skill-based stuff. So yeah, anyway, moving on from that, the only summon I think I'm really gonna talk about is Lodern. The Lodern, I'm still debating if I actually want to 3-stone this or not. Honestly, it's already really strong just at base because of the stats it gives. It pretty much just doubles the stuff once it gets max. But this summon is really strong because, again, like I said, everything with Higurashi and with Blazing Mistral are both like really skill-based setups. So this, just having this in like the backbone, it's pretty much the same way as like a heck, I forgot what they're called. Like the Soul Evoker, what are these guys called? Like the Tetra God in them. This series, the Rebirth series, and like Belial, where it's like kind of just having them in your party just kind of makes you just do more damage in general. So Lodern's pretty big. The real question though is just how much of a gap. I think there'll be a gap between no Lodern and Lodern, like having Lodern, but the question is how much of a gap is there going to be between having like a standard Lodern and a fully maxed one? That's the real question. If I start getting gapped on like everything, then I might just stone it, but otherwise we'll just wait and see. Now we're just gonna do like a lightning round on these characters because I'm not gonna go into like super detail on any of them. So this guy, I forgot his name, high key. I don't think he'll really show up, maybe for some full autos or something, but I'm not really too sure. Mikaboshi has been kind of a weird character because, myself included, we all kind of hyped her up like super heavy when she first came out. But now people have not really been using her, again, because most people have been doing like the Ogi skill-based comps, but she does still show up. I've seen her show up in full autos. I've seen her show up in Versusia. I've seen her show up in a multitude of things. I do think she could still do some kind of like mashing 250 thing, but we'll just have to wait and see if it shows up. But I don't really think she'll probably show up for like full autos too. I wouldn't be surprised if she shows up for full autos for the later floors, but she's not really necessarily a burst character, so I don't expect to see her in like a lot of the manual setups unless it's like the mashing ones or like the lower level setups. Roy does play with Blazing Mistral, but I don't know if he'll necessarily show up for anything in Guild War. Maybe. I know I have used him in the new Odious raid, so he can work as turns go on. It's not like he's just like a one-turn gimmick thing. He can be used for like multiple turns, so maybe he shows up for a full auto, but not really sure. Eustace, I doubt it. Maybe with some Higurashi, something, I don't know. Aglavale, doubt it. Maybe Lyria for some Ogi stuff, but Sandira, again, Sandira is really good, but Sandira's issue is that Sandira needs the Fated Chain for a lot of her stuff to really work how it's supposed to, so she kind of gets cooked in here, so not really expecting her to show up. Altair, no. Maria Teresa, probably not. Hawhet, no. Asuka, I doubt it. Kurapika, I know people have been bringing up Kurapika a lot because especially like this move on Kurapika where he can just spam this like over and over and over again could be pretty good for Guild War. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up. Like honestly, Kurapika and Roy, I wouldn't be surprised if they show up for full autos, but I don't know if they're going to necessarily be like optimal for anything. Atum technically doesn't really need like the Fated Chain to do his stuff when it comes to charge attack focus stuff, so he could show up, but he's like really buddy with Sandira. So I don't know. If you take out Sandira, I don't know how well he's gonna function just by himself. So maybe for some of the lower floors, definitely not for the higher floors, but maybe for some like full auto stuff, he shows up. Ogi can be very viable, especially once you get up to like 250. Laurita, no. What's her face? No. UL probably. UL probably will show up for some type of full auto, just like she has in the past. Some type of full auto, some type of auto based full auto, she'll probably show up. Womdis, same thing as per usual. Anything that's bursty related, you're probably gonna have Womdis, Zeta, Neza, Percival, characters like that. Same type of thing. Nothing really changed with Womdis, so probably still see her show up. Well, not even probably, you will see her show up. You will see her show up. Quatre, I know some people were doing Quatre stuff like last Guild War. I don't really know what it would even really entail, to be honest. So maybe you'll see some top players using him, but for your average Joe, probably not. Sato, probably not. Hellas, no. What's your face? Icarus, probably not. Probably not. Kane, probably not, but he does show up sometimes on like the like 90s, 95s, 100s, maybe somewhere in there, but I wouldn't expect too much. Chichiri, no. This Elmont, no. Them no. Finny Dio might show up for some full auto. She was really good last Guild War because she could just tank and just survive. So she was really good for full autos on the last Guild War. So might come back again. Vera, probably not. Nihon, no. Bakugo, no. Zeta, pretty much same thing I said before. Although Zeta, I would say a little bit more than Womdis, could also show up for some manual setups as well as some full auto setups. Zeta's just still really good in general. Ball, no. Noah, no. Seville, if there's any type of Ogi thing in the later floors, maybe. Otherwise, probably not. Ragazzo, probably for some full autos, but I don't know if people are even going to waste the time with him like dying or not. So maybe not. This guy, Anderson, no, probably not. Neza, maybe for some low button burst thing, just because he does the nuke, but he may high key just be like power crept at this point. I'm not really sure. No. Percival, obviously, you're gonna see him in OTKs, you're gonna see him in burst setups, you'll probably see him in some full autos too. Percival still very strong. People have used him a bit less now, but it's mostly because people, like I said, are not really using the burst type setups nowadays. They're kind of using more the Ogi skill damage stuff. But anything that is auto related, probably still gonna have Percival. Michael, backline Betty, no. Actually, you may see her like backline because of her one passive, but besides that, probably not. No. Willness, maybe. There's always been some jank stuff with Willness, like every Guild War, I feel, and especially because of the artifact stuff, you may see something with him, but not necessarily. No. This Elmont, I'm gonna be real, I don't really know what he does. I do know he kind of works with Blazing Mistral though, so might see that, but I don't know. He got his FLB, so I'm sure he'll show up in something, but I don't know how optimal it'll be. Medusa, probably not. No. Maybe some random comp with Mimlamel, but probably not. Probably not. No. Clarice, maybe. I do remember she was in a full auto last time. She's a decent character, but I'm not necessarily like, yeah, she's gonna show up, but she might. No. All in on, maybe for some manual stuff, but even then, I feel like your front line on fire is so strong, sometimes you don't need it. But if anytime you're gonna need it, it would be Guild War, so you might see him anyway. No to all these. Fra, backline Betty, but unironically, for some of the longer full autos, like 250, she could be really good. She also unironically plays really well with Mistral too, because she's got so many freaking buttons, and these buttons come up like relatively consistently. So pressing these buttons also helps your Mistral. So pretty good there. Let me see. No. Tien, maybe. Tien is such a weird character to me because Tien Tien always feels like a character that's just always in the back line, but then a lot of times fire players actually use her in the front line, so it kind of throws me off. But I don't know. I guess we'll just wait and see. Maybe I'm not really necessarily assuming she's gonna show up, but I wouldn't be surprised if she did. Shiva, maybe for some burst related stuff, but he's kind of usually like a fill-in character. He's usually not the best for stuff, but potentially. Note all these. I know Sturm did get her FLB between the time of last Guild War and this Guild War, so maybe she shows up. I know a lot of people were really happy with her on like full auto stuff, so maybe she shows up for something for this one. Note all these. Anthurium maybe for some Ogi related stuff as well. Maybe Ogi full auto stuff, but not super expecting anything from her, and then probably not anything with Agiola. So that is pretty much the lightning round of the pre-go or ramble. I know again this one was pretty quick, no guess. Don't have a lot of time, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been a decent amount of like character and weapon changes in Fire since last Guild War. You know, the Mikaboshi weapons, Mikaboshi herself, some new characters in general, collab characters. The Illustrious Transcendence, this will be the first Guild War with the Illustrious Transcendence. Again, I expect to see a lot of Blazing Mistral, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll go over all the stuff that, you know, showed up and didn't show up in the post Guild War ramble after Guild War. But for now, that's pretty much all I have for this one. So thanks for watching. Thanks for the support as always. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.